Alrighty, so we are getting ready to do 15 through 31, which is your second page of your review packet. So on this one it says BCD is 7x plus 10, and then they tell you BAD, arc BAD, was 19x minus 50. Well, if you guys remember, to get from your angle to your arc, remember we talked about little to big. To get from little to big, you need two of these. You need to double this to get to this. So in this one, I'm going to do 2 times 7x plus 10 and set that equal to 19x minus 50. Okay, so now we just need to distribute our 2 times by 2. That equals 19x minus 50. Remember, we've done this forever, but we're just going to move our smaller x to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 14x over here. 19 minus 14 is 5x minus 50. That 5x is ugly, but it's a 5. And then I got 20. I'm going to add 50 to both sides. So if I add 50 here, I get 70 equals 5x. And then I got to divide by 5. And when I divide by 5, if I got this worked out, I get 14. Okay, but in this they want angle or arc BAD. So BAD is the green part. I just got to plug it back in. So BAD. 19 times 14 minus 50 is a whopping 216 degrees. So that's number 15. Number 16. So they give me PQS, and then they give me, which is right here, 6x plus 1. And then they give me PRS. PRS is 34 minus 5x. So these two angles share the same arc. And when they share the same arc, they are equal to each other. So they share this little arc right here. So I'm going to set those equal. So to solve for this, to get rid of the, I moved the smaller of the two x's. This one's smaller because it's -5. So I'll show you this one. I'm going to add 5x to both sides. That gives me 11x plus 1 equal to 34. I'll subtract 1 to both sides. Divide by 11. So x is 3. But they don't want x, they want PS. So let's check it out. They want this arc. Well, in order to find this arc, I need to find this angle. So it doesn't matter. I could plug it into either one. I'm just going to do the green one. So it should be 6x plus 1. Okay. But then I'm going to plug in my 3 here. And when I solve for that, it gives me 18 plus 1, which is 19. So that's angle PQS. So that's 19 degrees right there. But when I go from my angle to my arc, I'm going from small to big. I got to double it. So arc PS is 19 doubled, which is 38 degrees. All right. On this one, I see a quadrilateral, and when I see a quadrilateral, it instantly tells me that these are opposite angles. They're going to add to 180. These are opposite angles. They're going to add to 180. So let's see if that comes true here. So I got K, so I'm just going to highlight that, is right there. And then they give me the blue, which is M. So if you look, those two angles are across from each other. When they're across from each other, they add to 180. So it's going to be 8x minus 19 plus 5x plus 43 equals 180. So let's combine our like terms. 8x plus 5x, 13x. 43. 43 minus 19 is 24. And that equals 180. So I'm going to subtract 24 to both sides. And that gives me 156. Divide by 13. And x is 12. But they don't want that. They want angle M right here. Find M. So I got to plug in for M. Well, M is blue in this case, so just going to be 5 times 12. 5 times 12 plus 43. And when I multiply that, measure angle M is going to be 103 degrees. Okay. So there we go. The next part is all about tangents. So the first one, they want to see if it's tangent. So remember, if it's tangent, this is going to be a right angle. It's going to be a 90-degree angle. And we've talked about this in class. To find the right angle, you look for the tangent line, and you look for the radius. And when those meet, that makes our right angle. And the right angle always points, whoops, you can't see that. The right angle always points to my hypotenuse, which is C. So this side over here, I'm going to make it, that's C. So that means the other two sides I just get to pick. Well, I'm going to call this side A. And I'm going to call the other side B. But here's the trick. That part right there is 4.8, which means this part right here, the other radius is 4.8. So there's a trick there. So the whole side is 9.6. Okay, which that is my B. So I've got A squared plus B squared. The question is, does that equal C squared? So let's plug in what we got. A is 7.2 squared plus 9.6 squared. The question is, does that equal 12 squared? 7.2 squared plus 9.6 squared gives you a total of 144. 12 squared is 144. So this side is equal to this side. So that checks, and that is a tangent. So yes. Woo, that one works. Okay, so let's check the next one out. Will it be? Won't it be? Oh, it's such a mystery. Okay, so here's my tangent. Here's my radius. Tangent and radius always make my right angle. Across from that's my hypotenuse. Always points to it. So that's my C right here. But all I know is that's 6.8. So if that's 6.8, how am I going to get this part right here? Well, that's a radius. Center to the side of the circle. So if this radius is 11.2, that means this radius is 11.2. So that means C in total, if I add these together, is 18. Okay. So then either one of these can be A. We've talked about it in class. I like picking the smaller one to be A. I like the bigger one to be B. So again, it's A squared plus B squared. Does that equal C squared? Well, my A is 11.2 squared plus my B, which is 15 squared. Does that equal 18 squared? Oh gosh, it's a mystery. I don't know. When I square these and add them, it gives me a total of 350.44. And this side is 324. So they are not equal. So that is not a tangent, even though it looks like it. So it's a big no. All right. So for question 20, they tell you assume it's tangent. So if you assume it's tangent, then you can just do Pythagorean theorem. So here is my tangent. There's my radius. Tangent and radius always make the right angle. Right angle always points to C. C is my hypotenuse. Okay. But there's a problem here. We'll just call this my smaller side. So that'll be my A. This is my bigger side, which is B. But 11 only goes from here to here. From here to here. So I've got to figure out, I need that radius right there. Well, this radius is 8. So that means this radius is 8. So this total side is 19. Okay. So here we go. A is 8. Well, I'll do A squared plus B squared equals C squared. My A is 8 squared. My B is X squared. My C is 19 squared. 8 times 8, 64, plus X squared equals 361. If I subtract 64 from both sides, that gives me X squared equals 297. Well, I don't want X squared, I want X, so I gotta square root these. So square root of X squared is X. I don't get a whole number, so it's going to be approximate. 17.23. There you go. There's number 20. All right, 21. So I've got, let's just go ahead and look at this part. If this is 3, that's already telling me this is 3. So that whole side's going to be 6. But let's figure out where our hypotenuse is. There's my tangent. There's my radius. That's going to make my right angle. It always points to that, which is my C, which means my smaller side I'm going to call A right here. My bigger side is going to be B, which is right here. Okay, so I got A squared plus B squared equals C squared. You guys getting the hang of this, right? A is 3.2 squared plus 6 squared. Does that equal X squared? So when I square these and add these, 3.2 squared is 10.24. 6 squared is 36. That equals X squared. When I add those together, I get 46.24 equals X squared. And then we square root both sides, and X is approximately 6.8. Ooh, there we go. All right, let's keep moving on here. On this one, we have tangents, and tangents are... those tangents are touching the same point. And when they touch the same point, they are equal to each other. So it's just going to be 4x plus 23 equals 10x minus 19. Okay. So pick my smaller x, subtract it. So 10 minus 4 is 6x. Here I need to add 19 to both sides. When I add 19 to both sides, I get 42 equals 6x. Divide by 6, and x is 7. But they don't want that. They want to know how long is EF. So I got to plug that into my red part. So it's going to be 10 times 7 minus 19. 10 times 7 minus 19 is 51. Okay, be right back. Okay, I like this problem a lot over here. They want to find the perimeter. You just got to use some basic skills here. If this is 5.9, then that means this is 5.9. I'm going to rewrite this in blue just to make it a little bit easier. If this is 12.2, I'm going to scratch it out. Then that means this is 12.2. Okay. So now I got to figure out how long these parts are. Well, the whole part right here is 27.4. Okay. So if I take the whole part and I subtract out the blue part, whatever's left is going to be my green part. And when I do that, I'll write it out over here. 27.4 minus 5.9. That gives me 21.5. So that means this green part and this green part is 21.5. So now all I got to do is 21.5 plus 21.5 plus 5.9 plus 5.9 plus 12.2 plus 12.2. And the perimeter is going to be 79.2. Okay. All right. So on these, we're doing arcs. When we do arcs, we have lots of formulas to use. It's going to either be half with big arc plus little arc or half and big arc minus little arc. When they're inside, we add them. So, sorry, I've got these, and then this is crossing inside. So I'm just going to make that my x. The formula says the angle is equal to 1/2 big arc plus little arc. Well, my angle, I don't know it. My angle is x. 1/2. My big arc is 140 plus my little arc is 92. Okay. When I do 192 plus 40, that gives me 232. But I got to do half of that. So half of 232 is 116. So angle AED, which is right here, is 116. To find DEC, which is this angle, DEC, remember, these two angles are side by side. Side by side are supplementary. Side by side are supplementary. So if I do 180 minus 116, it gives me 64. So this angle is 64 degrees. Okay. On this one, QST is what they're wanting us to find. Angle QST. They want us to find this angle. Okay. But they don't give us much information. So there's a couple ways to do this problem. I'm going to stick with the arcs of a circle. So if this arc is 98 degrees, I can do 360 minus the 98. And that will give me, I'm going to make it green. It's going to give me this green arc right here, the rest of the arc, which is 262. And if you remember the formula, when I have an intercepted arc and an angle, I'm going from big to small. And when I go from a big arc to an angle, I take half. So all I got to do is half of 262. I take 262 divided by 2. And that gives me 131 degrees. 26. Again, I've got arcs. They're giving me arcs, so it's got to be a 1/2 plus something, 1/2 minus something. This is an intersection outside. So that formula says angle equals 1/2 big arc minus little arc. Remember we talked about it. If they cross outside, They cross outside, that's a bad thing, so it's negative. They cross inside the house, that's good. So our angle we're trying to solve for, we don't know. That's our x. So it's going to be x equals 1/2 big arc minus little arc, which gives me x equals 1/2 of 94. Half of 94. Oh, not 94. Hold on. I think it's 74. 125 minus. Yep, 74. Sorry. And half of 74 is 37 degrees. There you go. So now we're getting the hang of it. On this one, again, they crisscross outside. So I need, they want this angle. So that's my x. I don't know that. Here I've got my little arc, but I need my big arc. So my big arc, I'm going to make a different color for you. Well, I don't know that part. I don't know the green part. But I do see 360, which is a whole circle. And I can subtract out the 136. And I can subtract out the 68. When I subtract those out, I get 156. So that means this green part's 156. So now I can do my formula. My formula says angle equals 1/2 big arc. Man, sorry, you can't see that. Big arc minus little arc. So my angle is x, right here. My big arc is 156 minus my little arc, which is 68. So x is equal to 1/2 of 88, and half of 88 is 44 degrees. There you go. Again, this one they want FGH. FGH. That's this angle. That's this angle. They crisscross outside, so that formula says angle equals 1/2 big arc minus little arc. My angle I don't know. That's x equals 1/2. My big arc, I don't know what my big arc is. I know my little arc. My little arc's right here. My little arc is 101. But I need my big arc. My big arc would be 360 minus 101. Because if I subtract out that red part, that's going to give me this, which that is 259. So my big arc is 259 minus 101. 259 minus 101 is 158. So I get x equals 1/2 of 158. Half of 158. 79 degrees. Okay. On 29, again, they crisscross inside. I know I've got to use this half of an angle or half of something and a big arc and a little arc. So I've got this arc. The arc across from it is RU, and that's what they want us to solve for. So they're telling me that's my x. But the angle I need has to be one of these two angles, not this angle over here. Okay, it has to be one where the red dot is. So if you think about it, this 88 and this angle are side by side. Side by side are supplementary. So if I do 180 minus 88, that gives me 92. So that means this angle right here is 92. Okay. All right. So our formula when they crisscross inside is when we add them together. So it's angle equals 1/2 big arc plus little arc. So my angle in this problem is given. It's right there. It's 92. So it's 92 equals 1/2. My big arc is x plus my little arc, which is 35. Okay. We talked about this in class. When you have that half and you want to get rid of it, you multiply both sides by 2. So I'm going to multiply this by 2, multiply this by 2, which that gives me 184 equals x plus 35. To get rid of the plus 35, I minus 35, and that gives me 149. Awesome sauce. 2 to go. Here we go. Okay, on this one, again, they crisscross or they intersect outside. I've got angles and arcs. When they cross outside, that means subtract. So here's my little arc, 91. So if I do 360 minus my little arc, that'll give me my big arc. Which when I do that, oh, sorry. Scratch that. I didn't see this little part right here. They want me to find MLP, which is right here. And that's my x. I don't know that. So again, they do cross outside. So my formula is angle equals 1/2 big arc minus little arc. Okay. My angle is 75. I'll make that blue. My angle is 75 equals 1/2. My big arc is x minus my little arc, which is 91. So again, to get rid of that 1/2, we multiply both sides by 2. So if I multiply by 2, that gives me 150 equals x minus 91. If I add 91 to both sides, x gives me 241. That's my answer to that. Okay, this last one's a little tricky, but because you end up with a negative, and you're like, what's up with that? But it's not bad. So here they want df. So that's my x. I've got my big arc. I've got my angle. So the formula is angle equals 1/2 big arc minus little arc. Okay, so my angle is 52. 1/2. My big arc is 162. Minus my little arc, which is x. Okay, to get rid of that 1/2, I'm just going to multiply both sides by 2. So when I multiply by 2, that gives me 104 equals 162 minus x. So to solve for x, I got to subtract each side by 162. Well, and that gives me negative 58. Sorry, I messed up there. So when I subtract that, it gives me negative 158. But over on this side, when these cancel out, I get negative x. Well, you can't have a negative variable answer, so technically you divide both sides by -1 or multiply both sides by -1 because a negative times a negative is a positive. But you can just say make everything the opposite. So when I make everything the opposite, x is 58 degrees. And there you go. That's the second page of your homework. Thanks for watching.